This is a tale of toil and stupidity, and a request that, unlike me, you don't be an idiot. So, to help with my editing, and of course speed up my computer a bit, I ordered this SSD off Amazon the other week. My first mistake was assuming that it would come as a little box like a hard drive does, a bit like this. This is despite, of course, all the images on Amazon as this little chip thing, which I assumed at the time were just illustrative. And to even further confuse me, it said in the description that the connectivity type or technology or whatever was SATA, which is one of these little parts. However, as it turns out, not all SATA ports are made equal, and this SSD I have uses an M.2 port, which is a different type of SATA port which was invented later and is apparently a lot faster. Invented later even, in fact, than my motherboard. That's right, the motherboard that I have was first produced on December 12, 2011, and M.2 ports didn't start becoming a thing until 2013. This is going to come back to bite us later. But it's not the end of the world that my computer doesn't have an M.2 port, because ultimately M.2 and SATA and all of these are all expansions of a different technology called PCIe, which you will recognise most notably as those big slots that your graphics card goes into on the bottom of the motherboard. So the solution is simple, right? All I need to do is get an adapter for PCIe port to an M.2 port, plug in the adapter and plug in the card into that. So I buy an adapter, it's only about £12 which is pretty good, and I plug it in, as you can see here. Now it goes into this little part underneath the graphics card. And honestly I was concerned it wouldn't fit, but it does go in quite snugly. Whilst I've got the case open, I get out the compressed air for a quick dusting. And now, all that's left is to test it. Does it work? It's alive! It appears to be working. First appearances can be deceiving, however. The lights are off on my keyboard and mouse, and my computer won't take any inputs from them. Thankfully, restarting the computer seems to fix it. But I can't find the SSD in my file explorer. Uh-oh. It is recognised at least, so there's that. So I find an old USB stick and start preparing to download Windows onto the SSD. This is where it gets just a little bit technical. Basically, the final, critical piece of research I'd failed to do was to check whether my motherboard could even boot from a PCIe port. Essentially, the problem is that the BIOS doesn't even know to check for PCIe ports when the computer starts, so the operating system cannot be stored on a PCIe connected device because the operating system is needed to access that device. To put that in layman's terms, I have just spent £78 on the SSD and the adapter, wasted 3 days waiting for it and then installing it, and I can't even store my OS on it. Until I get a new motherboard, that is. Don't be like me. Do some research, and then when you think you've researched enough, do more.